Good morning, Principal Kim. First of all, thank you very much for the opportunity to work at Hogwarts High School. I'm very excited about the prospect of working alongside you and learning from your experience, your own personal practice and your expertise. My career until now has been focused on developing teaching and classroom skills within an ESL context. Post-art school, I had the opportunity to travel extensively, both in Australia and internationally, which means that hopefully I bring to the classroom a rich set of experiences and perspectives. These facilitate a learning environment where I hope I also can continue to learn reciprocally from students and at the same time share my own knowledge and cultural capital through drawing on lived experiences. Working both overseas and domestically over the last decade, I've taught students of many nationalities and towards a wide variety of learner-specific outcomes. I recognise that our students come from a variety of diverse backgrounds, capabilities and needs. Meeting these needs is a cornerstone of any successful strategy. As a pre-service teacher, I recognise and admit many of my assumptions about teaching and pedagogic strategy have been challenged and reshaped recently as a consequence of my odyssey towards this milestone in my teaching career. Hopefully a growing awareness of these forces can continue to inform my teaching practice moving forward. As a part of developing and operating within the positive learning framework model, I recognise that first of all, planning for positive behaviour in our students begins well before the start of term with the design and architecture of a quality learning environment that's organised, that's caring and that is welcoming. And this in conjunction with a planned classroom management strategy that recognises also the incredible resilience of our students in the face of what are oftentimes immense challenges in their lives. I try to address student needs and motivations through the lens of positive psychology. I believe it can be an especially effective philosophy in a visual arts context as it allows for a representation or re-examination of anguish, adversity and difficulty. Research is consistent in the proposition that students engage best when there are opportunities for success, that these opportunities are flexible, and that as learners they are respected and aware there is an expectation that they can succeed. And I try to provide this as best as possible in my planning and interactions. I'm drawn to theorists who highlight the importance also of teacher presence and teacher self-awareness. I'm beginning to understand that the development of constructive and meaningful relationships with students as a part of the positive learning framework is predicated by a consciousness of self, or as it's also been termed, inner attitude, and the manner in which we bring this consciousness, identity and integrity into our classrooms may nurture positive behaviours through an evolving interconnectedness. Further to this, and as a part of the positive learning framework continuum, I plan my lessons with a view to getting learners settled and focused quickly, which is often assisted by audio-visual prompts that support clear lesson objectives. For example, if we were to begin an investigation into self-portraiture, relevant engagement strategies might include exposure initially to work which may challenge preconceived notions of the genre, such as Cindy Sherman's film stills or any number of Frida Kahlo's self-portraits. I believe our class investigations need to emphasise that student work, and in fact all of our work, is part of a larger history of art making, and that what we do, what we make and what we create here is an essential and meaningful part of that history and is valued as such. Engagement is further facilitated by clearly outlining the contributions of classwork and specific lesson aims to the big picture course objectives. Research tells us that positive engagement means student needs are met through positive relationships. Further to this, I have come to see the value in the Circle of Courage model and the emphasis it places on positive psychology to shift focus from discipline to strength building through an awareness of universal needs. These needs being belonging, mastery, independence and generosity. As a result, I try to remain mindful of all four of these needs in my visual arts lessons with the distinct aim of enabling the development of a community of practice free, hopefully, from negativity, especially as pertains to constructive feedback and student dignity. My management plan also has been developed with an awareness that all students are individuals and therefore learn differently. Students with learning and behavioural disorders are welcome in the art room, where diversity is not only a foundation of our community but an essential. I'm aware of the need for differentiated instruction and an equitable classroom, knowing students as individuals for a safe and consistent classroom, the role of praise and strength building, the place of problem solving, and how an inclusive classroom requires these inclusive strategies. And I'm also aware of how they can benefit all students. Despite good relationships, preventative strategies and democratic class rules, when challenging behaviour does present itself from any student, and in instances where established class guidelines have been breached, I remain aware at all times that a student needs to be safe, and students need to retain dignity and be treated with fairness, compassion, and empathy, an awareness that is informed by contemporary research. I also recognise that antisocial or disruptive behaviour is often secondary, and there is a need to locate and address causes and not just presentation. I have access to management strategies such as LAAD, affective statements, mutual problem solving, and appropriate intervention procedures that recognise the link between teacher-student relationships and discipline. In closing, the Australian National Curriculum proposes the two essential strands of making and responding with respect to the visual arts. I believe that engaging art students as artists and art makers encourages engagement beyond the subject and positions them as a part of a much broader narrative. Similarly, as responders, utilising an expanded aesthetic, culturally aware vocabulary, I try then to highlight the value of their thoughts, opinions, and their contributions. It's my hope that the value I place in my relationships with students motivates them in turn to positively and creatively value their own engagement with the arts and each other inside and outside of the classroom. Miss Principal, thank you very much for your time.